Volunteers. My name is Emily. I'm a program manager in New York, and I'm working to organize this Code Nation virtual hackathon. This is the first time that we are attempting a hackathon in a remote sphere. So thank you so much for your support and for being willing to participate in this experiment. I think it'll be really fun, and we have a good group of students and alumni who are excited to participate in our event. So I just wanted to make this webinar just to make sure that you feel prepared for your role in this hackathon, what's expected from you. I want to make sure that you are familiar with the resources that I'm going to give to students so you can familiarize yourself with them ahead of time. And I also have some resources attached to this slide deck that we've used for our in-person hackathon, which I haven't really modified, but I thought would be helpful just in terms of like how to communicate with your team and some ideas for how to work together and get a project done before the due date. So I'm going to jump straight into the schedule for the week. So we are going to have a kickoff meeting on Monday, April 13th at 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. And this kickoff meeting will hopefully be super short in terms of me talking, and I would love to give teams as much time as possible just to do the brainstorming. I've kind of called this meeting as close to mandatory as possible for students because I think this should be when you all decide what exactly your project is going to be, and there should hopefully be input from everybody in your team. I've got some room for students to brainstorm inside their project plan document, and by the end of that meeting, you should have some sort of plan for your project. You'll also see on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there's actually optional office hours. And with Code Nation staff basically means me. I will be sitting in a Zoom meeting during this time just to answer any questions or provide any support that you might need that might come up throughout the days. So my support is very limited technical support for students, but more in terms of if students are having difficulty breaking down their project and divvying it up between team members. If you have a student that you don't know how to communicate with, or if there's something that comes up that you want some advice about, I will be there to help you navigate that. If you are not sure if the project is feasible or if something is appropriate or how to interact with your students, I can help you with that as well. So I'll be available Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for anything that comes up. You'll also see some optional tech help office hours, and that's actually mainly for students to kind of give you a break from 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm trying to fill all the slots so that there are volunteers on call, so then if you're in a meeting or you don't have to be available at all hours of the day to help students with their technical problems. We'll have some volunteers sitting in Zoom meetings ready to help students with their tech problems there. So we know that you are still working and you are not available 24/7, and students will have to navigate a lot of their problems on their own, but we wanted to give them extra support so that they could interact with other volunteers and get some other opinions on their projects as well. And then the next thing you'll see on our schedule is our stand-up breakouts. You'll see that there are stand-up breakouts scheduled for every evening from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I want to call these stand-ups mandatory, but I also understand that that time might not work for your team. So basically from 7:30 to 8, we'll have a formal Zoom meeting where all of the teams can meet with me as well to help facilitate. But if your team can't make that time, you can schedule a different time. But I think it's really important for you to meet with your team every single night just to stay up to date with everything that they're doing and so that they can communicate with each other what's going on. The teams are kind of a mix of students who know each other and students who have never met. So they may sort of divide and conquer and be working on different parts and then not come back together. So you as the project manager will need to facilitate that stand-up so that they all kind of share what they've been working on. This might also be a good time to deal with pushing and any merge conflicts that come into the one repo that they're working on, which is better done every evening than waiting until Sunday. Projects are due Sunday, April 19th. I'll be holding some office hours in the morning in case students have issues with that last tech stuff of submitting. like figuring out how to make their page live or how to submit their video because they'll be doing video presentations this year. And then projects will be due at noon Eastern time, which will give us some time to send your projects over to judges and get winners announced the following week. So this is the first time students have really experienced such a long hackathon. All Code Nation hackathons before this have just been one day of really isolated coding. So they're really going to have to get a little bit of support breaking that down throughout a whole week. So if we think that like that one day Saturday hackathon is 8 hours of coding, that's broken down into about 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day over the course of the week. So we really don't want students spending 24/7 on this, just like we don't want you spending 24/7 on this. So if you notice that a student is like staying up all night or not doing their schoolwork because of this, please let me know. That's what my office hours are for. Or try and tell them that like they really need to make sure that they're paying attention to their other responsibilities too. And this is not meant to be a 24/7 activity. All right, so really what we're looking for, again, is not this 24/7 experience, but really just an opportunity for students to use their skills to create solutions. There have been tons of COVID hackathons that have come about, and Code Nation thought it was important for us to enter the sphere as well, because we are a tech company that cares about diversity, cares about a lot of the people who are affected at this time, and we would love for our students to sort of think about that and be very solution-oriented. We also know that some students have more schoolwork than others, so some of them are just looking for a creative outlet and something to do while they're stuck at home. This will also give our students a chance to learn new professional and technical skills. We have moved into remote Code Nation classes, which has been a fun time to teach some of the remote skills about what it's like to work from home. And they'll really get to see that in this hackathon on how to coordinate meetings with others without being there in person, and give them a chance to network. This is the first time we've really invited our alumni to our hackathon, and we've got some really excited alumni from several years ago who are excited to come back and to show off their skills. So speaking of that, the students participating are either in grades 11 or 12, or they're Code Nation alumni. They're from New York City and the Bay Area, but we're going to try and match all alumni or all volunteers with students and alumni in their area so we don't have to worry about time zones. They have all completed at least 2 years of the Code Nation curriculum. So that means with Code Nation, they've learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those that are in Fellowship 2 this year, who are our current students, are also learning some React. A lot of our alumni, again, like I said, are from several years ago, so may have learned other skills in college or internships or jobs. And I actually said attending school during this time, but also some of them may be working or doing something else as well. So like I said, I told them that they should probably spend about 2 hours per day on their project, which is very similar to just like Code Nation scheduling. It's like they had a Code Nation class every single day. As for you, your role, like I mentioned before, is just to act as a project manager for your group. So we're not expecting you to do most of the coding or even most of the tech support. But really, actually, I think your most important job is in that first day to help them with their project scoping. We have some students who have huge dreams and make and dream up a huge project that is not feasible and need to be scaled down a little. And we have others that could need some support adding on some stretch goals because they've got some extra time and capacity. So to help them with that brainstorming, help to create that positive and collaborative team culture. Like I said, students are used to being in teams in person, and I think they might need a little bit of support, like scheduling meetings with each other and like thinking about what the best way to work together is. You absolutely can provide tech support. I just don't want you to feel like you need to be on call all the time. I do think it's important for you to check in with your team members every day, even if that's just a Slack message or an email saying like, hey, how's it going? Beyond the stand-up. So I think the stand-up is really helpful because everybody can kind of talk together, but I think that check-in with every team member individually will also let you know how students are feeling. You know, if they're too shy to mention something in the stand-up with everybody there, they might mention some things they're feeling personally if you're just talking to them one-on-one as well. And again, this does not need to be like a huge meeting that you schedule with them. It can just be a quick Slack message or email. And then at the very end, just making sure that your team actually submits their project, that they have a presentation, that they know how to record it, that they know how to upload it and submit it, and that everything works properly. So doing that very last check to make sure it's working. As for resources, the biggest thing that I have created for students is this project planning guide. So students will get a link to this, and you'll have to make a copy of it so that everybody can edit it. Everybody's information is here. Everybody can be assigned roles if that helps facilitate the team dynamics. There's room for project ideas, and then for a description of the final project that you choose. And then I put here this planning pause. So I actually think these first two sheets of the planning document should be done during that initial brainstorming meeting. So if you can get through this page and this page all the way to like determining what your project is before 1 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, I actually think your team is in a really good spot. All right, so I'm reminding everybody to share contact information, to look at the judging rubrics, to decide what you're going to code in, and make sure that everybody can go to the stand-up. All right. And then after that, if it's 1 o'clock and everybody's got things to do, this is the time to sort of like have your team break off and like determine what they're going to do for the day. If you've got more time, there's room for students to break down the project into software requirement specifications. So this might be what they do on Monday without you, and you just keep this Google Doc open and check on it every so often to see as like students are editing it. So every part of their project, so it might be all of the different pages that they have if it's a multi-page project, or the functionality of it. And then a wireframe. And then tracking progress. So what do they want to do every single day, including like forking the starter code. Speaking of the starter code, this Codenation has this repo that students can use. That's a very blank repo, but just has everything already pre-linked. Just to make sure that this is not what students are spending their most time on. There's a README that they'll have to fill in before the end of their project, just with some information about their project. And then there are 2 HTML pages. There's a JavaScript page and a CSS page, and they're all linked into the HTML, so they don't have to worry about linking the separate pages. I know there are some students who might want to make one from scratch, which is fine, but this is available for students to fork and clone down to whatever they would like to use if it makes it easier. And then I added these nightly stand-up guiding questions. If you're doing your stand-up on your own, here are some things that you might want to talk about with your team. And then the presentation guidelines. So this may be what students are working on Saturday, would be putting together their presentation and then getting it filmed. That's a couple tips. And this is really, if they follow this document from beginning to end, this is kind of everything that they need to stay organized, and then it's kind of just on them to do the coding part. They'll just submit their project in this really quick Google form, which just asks for links to everything. And that's kind of it in terms of resources. I mentioned the nightly stand-ups. I mentioned the Codenation office hours. The video only needs to be 5 minutes. It should really only be 5 minutes max. So it's really just a project demo. And students can feel free to put their personality into it and make it fun. And then just a reminder that we are dedicated to providing a harassment-free hackathon. So again, those individual check-ins with your students, those stand-ups, and my office hours, please let me know if you notice anything so that we can take care of that and everybody feels safe participating in our hackathon. And besides me, Carolyn is supporting this initiative in the Bay, and Leah, our senior partnerships manager, will also be available for a lot of the tech help sessions. Please feel free to reach out to any of us or anybody else on Codenation staff if you have any questions about anything going on in this hackathon. When I send out this recording, I'm also going to send out this whole deck, which has a ton of other resources that have to do with culture, that have to do with tech support, stand-ups, presentation prep, the IDE. So feel free to read through this and look through any of the links. Like I said, these are links that we use for our in-person hackathons, but feel free to adjust as necessary for this virtual situation. That's about it, though. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, either before this starts or after. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it'll be really fun, and I think it'll be a great experience for everybody participating. Thank you again for your support. We would not be able to do this without you.